am streaming it. I've just hit the record button as well in OBS. I just want to make sure we can get someone to verify if the Discord audio is being heard through OBS, just because sometimes...
I can hear you and Joe.
On my stream?
Yes, on your stream.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. I am not going to be monitoring the stream chat. Tommy, if you see anything particularly important in there, like if somebody's like, I'm at my, I don't know, niece's bowling party or something, and I hate bowling, so I'm on my phone, so I can hear and I can type in the Twitch chat, but I'm going to have I've got a lot of windows open already.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to kind of prioritize what's somebody just saying like lol, or what's somebody saying like, I have an important point about this that should be discussed.
Meep says meep, so we've got that covered.
That's what we don't need.
Gotcha.
Meep is welcome to say meep, but you don't need to relay that.
Yeah.
Because there's kind of a different threshold for notability.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Okay, so... First off, welcome everyone. I'm actually gonna... oh my gosh, I don't have a gavel. Hold on. I'm gonna... I was holding it by the holes. There. Train whistle. This meeting is underway. Welcome everyone. One of the goals of these quarterly planning meetings is to make sure that we have time set aside to discuss things that are important and warrant serious consideration for the long-term sustainability of the server. There have been a lot of really good points made over the last few months about that trajectory, and unfortunately, they are things that I can't necessarily respond to on a day-to-day basis with anything meaningful. The more important something is, in a lot of cases, kind of the more time it takes for consideration, the more public review it requires. And this kind of quarterly meeting structure is designed to address one of the complaints that was raised by our own MView, which was that I only seem to respond to things like they are a crisis. And the reason for that, I've realized after... I thought about this for a long time. This is not just me reflexively being like, no, you're wrong. It's actually, you're right, and it took me a while to figure out why. And the reason why is because I was overwhelmed and overworked, and when people would ask me to do things, I'd say, I don't have time for that right now. And if they were like, but you have to deal with this right now, it's important, I'd go, I really don't think I can. And then if people kept pushing me, I was like, well, this must be a crisis, or they wouldn't be pushing me to address it right now when I'm already overworked and overtaxed. And so then people were unsatisfied with the solutions I was coming up with because I was basically treating them like crises. But I had originally hoped we could talk about these when I wasn't overworked and overtaxed. Realistically, if I don't put something on the calendar like this every 3 months... that stuff could get shunted off forever. Because, fun fact, being a single parent who's juggling 2 businesses, basically, because I'm kind of running a freelance web consultancy and this YouTube thing, like, it's hard for me to ever have time for anything. So 3 months feels like a good compromise to make sure that things are heard in a timely way, and that other folks in the community have an opportunity to weigh in on them before they are heard. This might seem like a really slow pace compared to the way some servers make decisions, but most of those servers aren't run by me with my particular life situation. And so that's just kind of where we are on that. So I hope that y'all find this new format helpful and constructive, because that is the goal, is to be more helpful, more constructive, and to treat things that are important with the gravitas they deserve, but without a false sense of urgency that was created by kind of some of the previous interactions around stuff. So, Tommy, if you want to lead us in, do you have the agenda in front of you?
I have the agenda open, yeah.
Okay, so we've got 3 concerns here from Meep. Why don't you open with the first one?
I didn't realize I was opening. Okay, so Meep suggests consideration of content accessibility, including captions for screenshots with important information, audio descriptions for videos, and transcriptions of meetings.
Okay, well, let's break these. So accessibility is a huge thing. And it's huge both in its importance and in some degree in the challenge of executing it properly. This is one of those things where, once again, the more important something is, the more important it also is to do it right, but the less viable it is to ignore it entirely. So the first thing I'd like to propose is creating a feedback accessibility room to make sure that considerations like this, that however we choose to address the next three or these three items, I want to make sure that we're getting a good cycle of feedback so that way we can keep improving and iterating in a positive way. Does anybody see any major concerns about structuring that way, putting that in feedback accessibility under Joe Hill's meta?
I think that would be a good way to look at it, especially then since we can make sure all the accessibility thing is in one place and not have to scroll through a couple of different rooms to check.
Excellent. I am glad to hear that, Meep. Montua Maker also writes, this is a good idea. Okay, and this is not the full extent of me addressing all three of these items. This is just me making sure that however we address each of these, we have a mechanism in place. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create that right now. Okay, that has been created and alphabetized properly. Okay, so making sure that I'm not in the wrong room, switching back to meetings discussion. Let's talk about these kind of one at a time here. Captions for screenshots with important information. So there are legal requirements for businesses to make sure that certain images are have alt text and things like that. It's unclear to what degree the communications on this Discord would be covered by those laws, but I would rather go the extra step to not only ensure that we're compliant legally, but that we're also making sure that nobody's missing important information. I guess my question is, though, how do we determine what is important information and what doesn't need alt text? Because the easiest way to do this from a business standpoint is just to have a bot that removes any images that don't have alt text and posts a reminder that says, please add alt text and repost that image. But is that something that we only scope for the staff? Because staff communications are potentially could be classified as business-facing public information. Or are things that people are posting in like Deep Space Nine holosuites where they're saying, hey, here's my build, here's what it looks like. Should those be required to have alt text too? I'm going to open this to the floor.
I think, Joe, the Kindle is here, that the having just official messages from, say, yourself with description would be ideal, and that us as server members should just endeavor to include a text description when we post screenshots.
Anyone else?
Yeah, that was mostly what I was thinking, because, well, Facebook is a business and they don't require captioning on every picture, but at the same time, for the terms of service, when they include pictures, then they are required. Just mainly stuff like that from the staff.
Okay, thank you, Meep. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Okay, so next up, it looks like nobody else has anything else to weigh in on here. Next up on the agenda, we had Meep's further content accessibility stuff. The second item there was audio descriptions for videos. That is something I have been looking into. Doing it right, I found some resources to make sure that we're not just trying, but that we're actually succeeding. I'm considering hiring somebody to do a training session with me on that, and I'm going to see if they have a difference between one-on-one rate or a group rate. So, I've got this community leadership room where I've been talking about, hey, would you guys be interested in workshops where I bring in experts to talk about things? So if I brought in an expert to train me how to do audio descriptions for my videos, would the community be interested in having that session be a group session? I probably wouldn't be able to record and stream that session, but I could possibly do it as like a Discord event for anybody interested. Would that be of value?
I think that could definitely be of value, so that also when people make, because I don't know on price. I don't want that to become a problem, but I know I would definitely enjoy a workshop on how to make stuff like that more accessible. And also, Joe, I did manage to find one of my blind friends who works for a firm that does audio description and does freelance work in this stuff. I finally found her contact info, and I can send that to you either via your professional email or a message in the Discord if you would like.
Please send that person's contact info to my business email, Joe, at joehills.net.
Okay. Just wanted to check which way you would prefer me to send that.
Yeah, no problem. For stuff like that, sending it to my professional email keeps it all in one place. Especially because in the long term, I'm trying to kind of separate like professional stuff and personal stuff. Like right now, my Discord account is a mix of personal and professional, and I'm probably going to break that into 2 separate accounts. So that way, when I'm playing Pathfinder, I'm not getting alerts about stuff going on here or vice versa. But that's kind of a separate thing that I need to figure out. Okay, I'm hoping that just having the person do the call in front of a small group, if I explain it's like 6 to 12 people or so at most, I think that'll probably only add, maybe $50 to $100 to the expense. Whereas if I said I want you to appear on stream, they might have a separate appearance fee that would jump it up $250 to $500. So that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to scope this for a small group thing and also make it something more for the community. But but yeah, that's something where audio descriptions for videos are actually a lot more feasible than hiring a transcriptionist, because the amount of time required for each video, I'm actually doing most of the work when I'm making notes to edit. So I feel like this is a feasible thing. I'm going to move forward with it, but I don't have a particular timeline yet. So in the meantime, though, I'm actually trying to be more attentive to describing what I'm looking at as I'm looking at things in game. That's kind of something I'm still playing with, making sure I do it in a poetic and interesting way. But if the first thing I say is, I stand before an empty lake that will soon be filled with a pinball machine, there are 6 markers that indicate the corners of the machine and the midpoints of the sides. If I'm saying that anyway to the viewers as part of my monologue, we don't necessarily need a voiceover being like, there are 4 corners of the pinball machine marked on the ocean and 2 midpoints marked as well. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of playing with how to meet in the middle until I can get this formalized and done right. Okay, and then finally, transcriptions of meetings. What is the thought process there for the transcriptions of meetings? Because that is actually a pretty intense requirement. To actually hire a formal transcriptionist is not cheap. And do they need to be live transcriptions, or are you just thinking like afterwards, how soon would those need to be available? Because the other thing is, transcriptionists get cheaper the less urgent things are. If I'm like, hey, could you transcribe this in the next 2 weeks, that's way cheaper than a rush rate of 24 hours or a live transcriptionist where they have to be available at the time.
Sorry.
I was just going to say that since you started the weekly newsletter, that has actually really helped get the general gist of the meetings out, which I think has been a big deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, I more wanted the transcription because when people were just taking pictures of their notes, I couldn't read them since even if the pictures are properly captioned, it does not work with voiceover. I just wanted to have a process where I could check back after since I have trouble taking notes. And even if people posted pictures of the notes they took, I couldn't use that.
So are minutes sufficient, or do you actually need full transcriptions of everybody speaking word for word?
Minutes are sufficient. I could have phrased it better.
No worries. This is why we have these talks, so we can make sure that we figure out what we actually need and we get it done. So, does anybody else want to weigh in on this before we move on?
Yes, I have a question regarding the recording that Tommy is doing for us. Would that be sufficient as a replacement for any formal transcriptions? Because we also have the newsletter describing what goes on in our meetings.
Yeah, I think it would be, especially if the recording is kept on here, is put on the Discord, so it's easy for people to find it.
Okay. Tommy, I guess you'll be linking the VOD anyway. That would be linking the VOD is equivalent to uploading it to Discord, or at least to me, but maybe not. Would that be sufficient?
I don't know if I can upload a file that large to Discord. I can definitely link either the Twitch VOD or upload it to YouTube separately and then link that back. I can do that for sure, but to upload a whole video to Discord, I don't think I can do.
Yeah, I was more worried because I know Twitch removes VODs after a certain point.
Right, I do plan on having it uploaded to my YouTube channel as well, so that this way we
can that would
linked.
work as long as it's permanent and wouldn't go away.
Yeah, I'm not relying on Twitch to keep this up.
Just to keep it easy, you might even put the link in the newsletter that comes out on Monday.
So, yeah, that was my intention.
So that way you was like, hey, this meeting happened, here's the video link.
Right.
Yeah, so we would have, here's the minutes, and here's the full video if you want to see how we got to there. Okay, is Necropolis here? If not, Tommy, you can go ahead and read this, and then if Necropolis has a proxy... I see Necropolis is typing, but not in the voice room. Oh, because Necropolis is probably watching on Twitch. So, Tommy, if you want to read item 2 here.
So, Necropolis suggests consideration of how to ensure roles usually covered by volunteers in similar communities are filled properly here.
Okay. And I have some specific questions that I can pose, but if Necropolis or a proxy would like to expand on this first, I don't want to step on them. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone typing or speaking. So my first question here is, what are those roles? Because I don't know what a similar community is, or I don't know what a similar community is to you, right? So my idea of a similar community and your idea of a similar community might be dissimilar. So I would love to hear people list or explain what roles they might be thinking of here.
I know one of the things people were looking for was a server operator, which I know is something we are working towards. So I don't think that specifically is going to be an issue for much longer, but I don't know about any other roles within communities.
Yeah, I can speak briefly on the server operator thing. Here's where I am on structuring the server operator job. I'm going to start off by hiring one server operator with the long-term intention of having 2 or 3, so that way there's not one person who's a single point of failure. And I want them to be able to go on vacation, avoid being stressed out, that sort of thing. The first server operator I hire will take the lead on the new survival, or no, sorry, what was it we were going to call it? Instead of it being survival horror, the survival comfort server. And each server operator I hire will have one project that they're kind of the lead on, and they will provide support coverage for the other servers, right? So let's say that one person is technically the lead on the experimental server. Well, if the person running the survival comfort server is on vacation, they can fill in and do emergency fixes, but they're not going to be making game rule decisions to change the feel of the server. So instead of having the different server operators kind of trying to find consensus about how to run each server, they'll each kind of have their own server that they are kind of the creative or artistic lead on, but then they'll be in a support role to kind of provide cross coverage. So I would stay as the lead on the flagship server, the creative lead, but then every other server operator would have privileges to come in and help if I'm on vacation or traveling or launching a new season of Hermitcraft and busy. Greyheart says, would the server operator enter into the realm of the demiurge? Yeah, so the idea is that instead of me doing petitions, possibly on the survival comfort server, that operator would do the petitions. Because they don't need me coming in and screwing with their creative vision by giving people a bunch of stuff, right? So they can kind of determine what level of role play they want to do there and kind of mess with it. So you could imagine how a server run by me would be very different than a server run by, for example, Tommy. Tommy isn't actually running for a server operator position, but I'm just going to use you as an example. Is that okay, Tommy?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so you could imagine that Tommy's server and my server would be run very differently, but we could cover for each other if one of us is traveling and there was a problem. So that's kind of the goal there. And we'll probably also let the different server operators take turns running a session of the Everstorm server, or possibly like holiday pop-up servers. Like, let's say that we wanted, if one of the server operators had an idea for like a Halloween server where we all build haunted houses that would run for like 6 weeks leading up to Halloween, I could spin that up for them and they could run that. So I'm working on exactly how that job will be structured in terms of pay, but it would probably be something where it's like, okay, you're guaranteed, let's say 10 hours a month of, or like basically I'll pay for 10 hours a month of you messing with this server. If you need to go above 12 hours though, you need to give me a justification and seek approval for the additional hours. So that way, I don't have to worry about somebody billing me for 160 hours of server operation time at the end of the month, because I can't afford that. So I'm still working on the exact numbers and the details there, but I'm going to be I'm hoping to launch the server operator thing in the next with the launch of the survival comfort server, which should be mid to late May. So we should have our first lead operator hired by then. So that's where we are on server operators. In terms of other roles, does anybody have any other roles that they wanted to discuss that would normally be done by volunteers? Because once again, I don't know what a similar community looks like.
Joe, I've been part of other communities that run off of basically free labor from volunteers, and I think your community is special because you pay people what they're worth, and you don't overextend yourself based on free labor, and I think that is a very valuable thing that you do.
I appreciate that, and that's something I plan to continue doing. I feel like if folks want to work for free, they should be building something that they own or supporting a nonprofit rather than me. So, yep. But once again, I want to make sure that there aren't any gaps in coverage. So, if there are roles that volunteers are usually filling in other communities that I need to figure out either how to do myself or how to make Tommy's job or the moderation staff's job, now is the time to bring that up. Okay, well, it doesn't sound like anyone has any other further concerns here on Necropolis's point. So let's go ahead and keep moving. Tommy, you want? Well, actually, Mr. Hardluck, you're here. If you want to present item 3 yourself, please do so.
Hello, everybody. I suggest more community game nights such as UHCs, Mario Kart, Among Us, pinball challenges, etc.
Yes. That's the short answer is yes.
Yay!
The long
Good game,
answer,
everyone.
yeah, the long answer is this is something that I intentionally hired the original moderation staff to run events like this. I hired people who would be good at doing stuff like this. What happened was, and this is my fault, not theirs. Money got tight, and so I kind of stopped encouraging people to, when we first started out, I was like, hey, does anybody want to run a D&D session for the Discord this month? Does anybody want to run a game night? That sort of thing. But when the Hermitcraft hiatus was coming up and my savings weren't looking great, I kind of stopped pushing for that. Now that things seem like they're generally on a positive trend and an upswing, I'm intending to start encouraging the moderation staff to run more events along those lines. But I don't have any specific details yet, and I can't commit to. I'm not going to sit here right now and say, okay, let's put Mario Kart on the calendar for next week. But what I will say is, hey, moderation staff, who wants to do Mario Kart? When do you want to do it? I'll approve, an extra 90 minutes of game running time for each of you. Just put in a proposal, that sort of thing. Because I feel like an hour and a half to 2 hours a month seems pretty reasonable for people that want to run a 4-hour D&D game. That might be an every other month type thing, but just because I do need to control costs to some degree. But yeah, and this is the sort of thing too where, like, if other people, y'all are always welcome to say, hey, I'm playing Mario Kart, add me on Nintendo Switch if you want. I'm streaming it over here if you want to see it, that sort of thing. But yeah, community members are also obviously welcome to mention things like that in the gaming room or the streaming room or whatever. Are there any questions or concerns about that or feedback in general?
I suppose I have a question. Would this necessarily be one of the contexts for which you would encourage folks to create their own server?
Yes, absolutely. So that is part of the reason that I created the Spam Servers You Operate channel. So that way, if hard luck, I'm just going to use you for example, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it. I'm probably actually going to offer to do what you are about to suggest, so go for it.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, if hard luck says, hey, every Saturday night, I want to do Among Us game, late night Among Us with hard luck, join my late night Among Us server or whatever. That is exactly where you should do that, because there are all sorts of games where you need to create special Discord roles or have special abilities, or you need to have a bot or things like that like I just can't support that level of stuff here. It gets too micromanagey, and so I'm happy to just let you go create your own Discord. And I want to make sure that I'm trying to be more positive when I say stuff like this. Like, I've been trying to set, like, one of the reasons I make things is I want to show other people that they can make things too, and that includes Discords and communities. And by creating that Spam Servers You Operate channel, I'm trying to encourage people to know, like, hey, just because you're making your own space doesn't mean you can't be here too. Like, part of maybe being a good community member here who is leading in creating experiences for other people might require creating your own space. Like, And so I don't see people running their own Discords in any way as a challenge or a threat to this community. I see them as an opportunity for people to kind of do things that they can do better somewhere else, where they can kind of shape the space more. So yeah, that would be exactly what that's for. And also, if you guys run into problems or questions or concerns about challenges you run into there, that's why we have the community leadership room. So you can say like, hey, I'm trying to run this community and there's some bunch of challenges with the Discord roles or whatever. You can bounce stuff around in there. You might get feedback from me. You might get feedback from other people who are leading their own communities. But yeah, that is absolutely a thing there. Greyheart says, what's the line between a community and a personal event? It's a community event if you invite the entire community, and it's a personal event if you invite 2 people. Like if I say, hey everybody, let's go meet up at this coffee shop, anybody who watches my YouTube channel or reads my Twitter come by and say hi, that's a community event. But if I text my friend and I'm like, hey man, you busy, you want to go grab a coffee, that's a personal event, right? Like that's how I scope that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like a community event would be an open invite to the community at large, versus a personal event would be, invites sent to specific individuals exclusively.
Yeah.
I guess, in general.
But there is no requirement that the spam servers you operate servers be open to 100% of this community. I want to make that very clear, right? So if somebody wanted to run a server based on, like, for example, let's say somebody from Peru wanted to create a server for Peruvian gamers and mention it here because there's 3 or 4 other people who are gamers from Peru. They might say, look, if you don't speak Spanish, this isn't really, this is a Spanish language server. Please only join if you're of Peruvian descent and speak Spanish. That's 100% okay. But there's a big difference between them saying that and saying, I hate Mr. Hardluck. Everybody except Mr. Hardluck can join. That's not okay.
That's valid.
Yeah. So, as long as you make it clear in your post, like what the scope of the invite is, that's fine. But yeah, this is also a solution to a concern we had from a long time ago, where people wanted to make sure that there were spaces owned by people from different identities, and that they had a way to mention those here without seeming like they were competing or spamming, and so that's a way to do it.
I would like to ask a question of the folks in attendance, if that's all right. On this topic.
Before we get to that, hard luck, do you mind if I address a few of the...
Oh, by all means.
Because there's a few people who are addressing what's already happening. Greyheart says, I'm planning an adventure at my base on Deep Slate 9. Would this be a community event? I asked because it might be something you're interested in, but don't want to make more work for you or requires you to pay someone to moderate it. Okay, well, so what I'm saying is, y'all can run events for the community that don't have moderation staff or me there. If you're trying to run something where you're like, so for example, I had said, hey, if y'all come up with like a build contest idea for Deep Slate 9, where you say, hey, Joe, can you bring in a few guests and come judge? We're all going to build riverboats. We love Dren's riverboat. We're going to have a riverboat building contest. It's going to run a month long, and then we just need you and 2 judges to come in at the end of the month. That is totally fine for you to approach me with, and I'll see if I can afford it, or I'll figure out the scope there, and we'll make it happen. But if you're just running something for the other people on the server and you don't need moderation support or operator support, you can still call it a community event because it's open to the community. It's just not a staffed event, if that makes any sense. Greyheart. Does that answer your question? And then Grace Winter says, if you're encouraging more community-run events, could we get a spam open events channel, something like Mario Kart in 20 minutes, instead of having to specifically join servers to know about things? Maybe. That feels like a germinal idea. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept in playwriting of like playwrights will have a lot of times just like a rough concept, and it's not a play yet. It's the seed of a play. And Grace Winter, that feels like the seed of a solution to a acknowledged problem. But I feel like it needs some refinement. I'm not sure exactly how, so I'm open to other feedback about that. Because, like, for example, we kind of have that already for the Animal Crossing stuff. And so maybe we need that for Among Us or Mario Kart specifically in specific rooms, or maybe we just say use maybe we just create a pickup games channel, right? Where we say, okay, anybody who wants to play a pickup game of Mario Kart, we're going right now. Anyone who wants to play a pickup game of this, we're going right now. But the thing is, I feel like there might be more infrastructure required to pull that off properly, because I know that was a concern with voice channels and things like that. So I'm not sure what that looks like yet. But we could just create. Okay, here's what I'm gonna suggest: is let's create a spam pickup games channel. Although that's not really create; that's more of a gaming thing. Okay, so let's go. How about this? How about we create a channel called Pickup Games under Games, and then we create a feedback channel for it as well in Joe Hill's meta called Feedback Pickup Games. And then we kind of see what we need over the next 3 months. We figure out what works and what doesn't. Or does anybody have any refinements we should do before I execute that plan?
Are the pickup games limited to only, we're about to do this in 20, 30 minutes only? Like,
yeah, that's the idea. You just post, we're about to play a game. You know. It wouldn't go in the servers channel. It would go under gaming. So the realms and servers is like servers I operate. So and this would be out of scope for that. This is more closer to the Animal Crossing stuff.
So this seems like an adequate time for me to come back in. I wanted to ask everybody here if anybody has considered or actually taken the initiative to start a separate Discord server to facilitate gaming between members of this community. If not, then I would like to volunteer to start one, and this would technically be outside of Joe's jurisdiction himself, so it would be, as far as I'm concerned, my discretion to, pay or not pay people.
Well, here's the other thing about that, is if you own it, I want you to feel comfortable inviting your random friends and wrestling contacts. I don't want to encourage people to create channels that are only for a subset of this community necessarily. I want to encourage interconnection, right? So, arguably to some degree, NJ's Discord does do what you're describing, but also serves a broader community. Sammy's Discord does that, but also serves a broader community. You having a Discord that does that and also serves a broader community would make sense to me. And then, I think that would be fine. But yeah, if you're calling it Mr. Hardluck's Joe Hill's server, I'm not super comfortable with having my name in the title of your server. You see what I'm saying? Either.
Valid. That makes sense. Well, if I ever get around to having a regular streaming schedule, I would eventually intend on creating a Discord server in conjunction with it, at which point I would, then easily be able to, curate any, any community gaming events that could, obviously involve members of this community, but not necessarily exclusively members of this community. And I feel like that's more of what you're hoping for in that context.
Yeah, because like in the same way that Fally operates a Shamblecraft Discord server where people do pickup games, but you know what? It's also part of the broader Shamblecraft. Yeah. And so yeah, I wouldn't want you being like, okay, I have to run 2 Discords, one for the people from Joe's community and one for the people that watch my streams, right? That's not necessary.
Right. Yeah, I'm just, throwing ideas at the wall, seeing what sticks. I feel like that's sort of a sub-purpose of this.
Okay. So it sounds like nobody had any problem with me creating we're going to run this as a 3-month experiment under gaming. We're going to create the pickup games channel.
Oh, also, one other thing, hard look. Depending on the game type that you're doing, you may want a Discord just for that game. I'm in like 5 Discords with the same group of people for different D&D games, just to keep all the that information isolated from everything else.
Well, so that is certainly a way to do it.
So you might find something like that suitable too.
Okay, you know what? As can you still hear me? I'm in the middle of an option screen. I'm not sure if...
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, as soon as I started writing this, how about maybe instead of calling it pickup games, we call it Players Wanted?
Sounds good.
Yeah, because that's something at conventions, it makes it very clear. You post here if you want players, and that also, unlike pickup games, you could say, hey, we're playing on Friday night, not like we're playing in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think I second that, because then you're inviting people to basically an open sign up for a planned event and offering a place for people to hop into a little to short notice or little to no notice game session.
Okay. See, this is I do better talking through things. Everything I do is very iterative. So thank you for your patience with that, folks, as I am creating and then immediately renaming these channels.
Well, it's a yes and thing, right?
Okay, so the channel is now named Players Wanted. Okay, cool. So we have that. I'm going to now alphabetize it. HIJKL. Okay, so it's below Pinball, above Players Wanted. Okay. So we also have a feedback Players Wanted channel now in the Joe Hills meta. So as we roll through that, if people are like, okay, this is a nightmare, we need to change this, we need to add that, we'll review that at the end of the kind of test period. If there's anything that's an absolute, if something absolutely blows up, we can tweak it on the fly. But I'm trying to be more cautious about changes, just because, once again, I'm still very tired and overworked, and I don't want to seem like I'm just changing things randomly all the time, because that's stressful for people. It might be annoying if something isn't perfect right now, but it's more annoying if it's randomly imperfect in different ways every 3 days. So it's harder to compensate for that. So that's where we are on that. Okay. So does anybody else have anything final on the community game nights? Otherwise, we are closing out the agenda. And
Shawnard asked about a voice channel for it as well.
Where was that?
Meetings discussion.
Hold on. Should have an accompanying pickup voice channel with no push to talk. That is something I'm not super comfortable with. I really personally struggle with being on servers that have voice activated chat, and I kind of like generally curating a space that doesn't have things that stress me out or annoy me. But part of the goal of these meetings is to experiment with things that I am not entirely comfortable with in a more structured way. So, how about this? How about we have 2 voice channels to start off? Pickup games, push to talk, pickup games, voice activated. And honestly, we might be better served in the long term by just pushing those conversations into other discords, but we'll try it for 3 months with the assumption, my assumption is if we try this, it's going to be more stress than it's worth, and I'm going to end up removing them all. I think that's where this is going to go, but maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Would y'all rather that I do something that I think I'm going to take away in 3 months, or that I just didn't do it? Because I've been assuming that the answer is don't even try it, because I'll be annoyed it's gone. But once again, this is why we have these feedback opportunities.
I'd say give us a chance to prove you wrong. That's one way of putting it, I guess.
Yeah, if you look at what Kindlist says,
yeah, I second him.
We don't need extra 2 channels, maybe just 1 extra, since we already have open gaming.
So we'll add open gaming voice activated as a second voice channel there.
Might I suggest labeling the original one PTT and labeling the second one just VA?
Okay, I have renamed Open Gaming Push to Talk and Open Gaming Voice Activated. Throw experimental in the channel name.
That's getting too long.
Yeah, I think we're going to have it pretty well recorded that this is experimental. Now, I need to go in and actually change the permissions on this. Edit channel. Permissions. Invite. Well, how do you... Region override. I don't know if I can set this... Hold on. Advanced permissions. Hold on. Here we go. Use voice activity. Allows members to speak in this channel by simply talking. I think that's the one we want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to save changes. There's other options here. Should everybody be allowed to mute other people? Or
that's a good question. I'm inclined to say no.
Because here, my number one concern with having a voice-activated channel is somebody walks away from their computer and doesn't realize that there's a lawnmower in the background, and then my moderation team is getting a bunch of messages saying hey, can you deal with somebody? There's a lawnmower in the background, or
Well, Discord has the function to individually mute people on only your end.
Okay, so we don't need the ability to. We don't need the ability to universally mute.
The issue with forced muting is that, basically, if you force mute someone, they can't unmute themselves.
Gotcha.
It's weird.
Okay, well that's I don't go through those settings often. That's why we were looking at it. Okay. So was there anything else about the gaming night thing or whatnot that anyone has any questions or concerns on? Okay, well then I'm going to officially gavel us out for this meeting. Our next meeting is in 10 minutes, also in this room, and that's going to be about the long-term Minecraft server roadmap. We'll talk a little bit more about the operator stuff that I briefly alluded to earlier. And so, yeah, go grab a snack, use the restroom, grab a drink, whatever, and I will be back in 10 minutes.
I'm going to stay unmuted just in case anybody has any additional questions or comments or anything they want to say now. Kindle says time to sub to Tommy. No. That's not what the stream is for.
Yeah, that's next week.
That's next stream. No. Oh, Kindle is gifted sub. No, please don't make this about me. This is a public, well, not public, but it's a community meeting that we're having, and I know we're in between meetings right now, but Kindle says I was waiting until a break to do that. Well, thank you, Kindle. I really do appreciate that. I'm sorry there's no overlay or notifications on the stream for that. I wanted to, be professional. Thank you for following, Greyheart. This is the worst stream of my life. I wasn't doing this stream to get subs, Kindleus. Grace, thank you for following. Guys, stop subbing. Oh my god. I feel bad I can't properly thank you or anything. It feels weird to do that right now. Thank you for linking the stream.
Joe kept saying the reason this meeting is because my suggestion last month, and then I was like, okay, I should probably actually go to this, and then I woke up 15 minutes ago.
I kept waking up in the middle of the night because I kept thinking I was gonna oversleep and miss the meeting, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm gonna freak out. And so I woke up several times, and then I had a really weird dream about baby chicks. I don't even know what happened there, but it was great. M followed. Thank you for the follow. How has M only just followed me now? This is a call out post for M.
How dare you, M, you monster. I'll never look at you the same way again.
Kindlers, don't redeem channel points during this. It's okay, this is a learning experience. Now I know to turn everything off besides... Can you turn off the ability to sub?
Probably, but you might forget to turn it back on. And there is no thank you needed. I know why I subbed during this one and not during one of your regular streams.
To torture me?
To appreciate your hard work.
Oh, thank you. Isaac, channel points on Twitch are basically if you watch a stream, you get points for watching, and then certain streamers will set up rewards that you can redeem the points for. So it's like a thank you you can give back to your community for watching your streams. You can get a shirt? Oh my gosh.
But only from Manu.
No, that's fair though. For 50k channel points in my stream, I'll draw a shirt.
I have 1.2. I'm on my way. But a channel points art stream would be a very interesting stream.
Oh my god, I may actually have to plan that. I'm sorry you had to verify your phone. I don't even remember setting that up. That must have been during all the hate raids.
You know, the amount of devices I've got going to facilitate this on my end is kind of silly.
How many devices do you have?
I've got the laptop going to have Minecraft on. Then I've got the stream up on my TV, but the TV doesn't let me do chat, so I have the chat-only stream on my phone.
Oh no.
I'm using all 3 of my computer's monitors for this, so I understand.
I keep thinking about getting a third monitor because now it feels like 2 just isn't enough, and that feels like ridiculous because I used to just use a laptop and now I can never go back.
It's like a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and at my parents' house in like the basement where you have like extra monitor, there's this little thing my dad has that's like holds the phone up as like an extra like tiny mini monitor. It works nice for Twitch chat, but for like anything else, I don't know why he has it. But
For video calls, maybe?
I don't know. Thing is, he doesn't even like use the basement office anymore. Basically, my parents' room has also turned into his office.
Oh.
So like the basement's just like an extra office now.
Also, because Roku doesn't have a thing to let me watch Twitch normally,
Right,
I have my Switch going so I can watch the stream.
Yeah, let me plug in my actual microphone.
All right. It is now noon, so I think I am ready to gavel us back in. Exciting news. I was just posting to the Hermits about the UHC that's going to start in 2 hours. And as I was preloading all the chunks, I was like, oh, you know what I should have done is I should have centered the world border directly above an ancient city. So then everybody's converging on an ancient city. And then I ran the locate command, and the world border is exactly centered on an ancient city because I'm clearly just the best. So that's going to be a real treat for the hermits. It's almost like I planned it. I know, right? So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and gavel us back in. Alrighty. So, Tommy, our community liaison and agenda runner here. This is the broad server meeting. What is the first item on that agenda?
So the first item is from Aviva. I don't know if she'll want to take lead on this, but Aviva suggests Joe hear why folks play on the servers and why they take part in the community to help get a better understanding of the community and our goals.
So Aviva, if you want to take it away. If you're having mic issues, though, other people can jump in.
Yeah, so people were saying I was quiet, so I went to plug in my actual mic.
Sound great now.
I'll be honest when I first suggested, I feel like a lot of that has already been accomplished since I first suggested it. But I think it'd be nice for people to still individually say stuff. For me, I guess I'm going to repeat myself a bit for what I said earlier, but I felt like so much of issues through the server came from a miscommunication of why people play versus why you were thinking people were playing, you're thinking people were playing for the specific mechanics and rules in the server. For myself at least, and I know at least other people, but I don't know about everyone, a lot of it was specifically for the community rather than mechanics, and having nice mechanics was a bonus on top of that, and rather than secondary. And it felt to me that what you thought it would swap, where mechanics come first and community secondary. I don't know if I've said that as well as I could, but
I think you said that fine, and I think that makes sense. I'm going to avoid commenting on anyone's particular... In order to encourage the feedback that you're seeking to elicit here, I'm going to avoid responding to anyone's individual points until everyone's had a chance to talk, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So would anybody else like to chime in?
I feel like the additional features that we'll be seeing coming soon are really going to help amplify the whole putting community first and then mechanics second, like Aviva was saying, because when we have server operators who can say, this is my funky server project where here are the fun, crazy rules we can do, and then we can just have the regular server be, this is our space where we get to come together and not have to worry about whether we take fall damage or not.
Anyone else want to jump in? This is y'all's time.
So, sorry. I had played on another YouTuber's free server for a while, and I'm going to say it was definitely not as fun as the community you have set up here. And I definitely enjoy this group of people. I enjoyed the group of people there just fine, but they had a whole bunch of extra rules because they didn't trust people. And I feel like this community has this extra level of trust and camaraderie that is just way better. And I like the way that you handle your rules a lot better than the other places I've been.
Yeah, that is one of the key differentiators between, from talking to other server administrators in the Minecraft YouTube community, the fact that I don't have specific rules about plot location or how many entities you can have, or things like that. Like, we'll deal with things case by case if it becomes a problem. But for the most part, you know, I'm trusting the community to work together to make sure things aren't a problem. And this is, in a lot of ways, what the Hermitcraft experience is. This is what I'm trying to give y'all on this main server, is that there's this, like, there's no arbitrator. There's no real rules. We're just kind of making it up as we go and trying. But, like, we have behind-the-scenes conflicts because somebody built something too close to somebody else or something like that, and we have to figure it out as a group, you know? And, like, I feel like by removing myself from the equation on a lot of that stuff, I'm actually creating that experience in a way that y'all can.
Yeah, no, that's definitely
enjoy.
What appealed to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to respond to individual points. I screwed up.
That's fine. But what I was like, they had rules like you can't build within 4,000 blocks of spawn, and then you can have 12 of every animal, and you can't post coordinates and screenshots, and like you can't make a road to your house because then people might know where your house is. So like the only community thing we had was a shopping center, and it was single player plus. It wasn't multiplayer, and I felt that was really not fun.
I could see that. Okay, I'm going to avoid responding to particular points. Apologies again for breaking my own attempt to encourage feedback without comment. But thank you very much, Mahis, for sharing that. So let's see. Kindleus writes, I decided to join this community because in a stream I saw Joe get very angry at someone telling a joke that was punching down. The types of fans Joe cultivates is what makes the people here exceptional, and I play here because the people are fantastic. Thank you for that feedback, Kindleus. Anybody else want to jump in? I see Isaac seems to have their mic on.
Yeah, kind of seconding what Kindleus said, but to expand on that, I went through a lot of servers that like claimed to be LGBTQ friendly or otherwise accepting of people like me, but they all like I kept running into like they would accept other people into their community who would exclude me. Like, and that wasn't, I felt like they weren't really making a commitment that they claimed to be. But I feel like this community does that, and I really appreciate that. I feel a lot more comfortable here.
Yeah, Meep here. I'd also like to say I came here first, but I have looked at other communities, and most servers, again, they do the kind of hand-holding, and several don't allow for mods that make things more accessible. Like, I have Gamma Override turned way up, and some servers frown on that. And which I need, and there's a mod that Case has been working on to help her narrator read more than just the player-to-player messages in chat, and there are several servers, including some Patreons of the other hermits, that just flat out ban all mods, and that makes it less accessible for me to be able to play. And I appreciate that you let us govern ourselves so that we can have more things like that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we have created spaces that are welcoming to you, Isaac and Meep. That is reassuring to me, and thank you for saying so. Mantua Maker has just chimed in as well in text chat, who says, I chose this community because of Joe. I stayed because of the support and help that the members provide. Each person that has given me things and shown me mods has made it easier for me to play. So, glad to hear that, Mantua Maker. Fifth Alice concurs, saying, my sense of orientation is awful, and I'm very happy that I can use a map. Makes it a lot more comfortable. So thank you, Mantua Maker and Fifth Alice. There's a lot of folks here who haven't chimed in yet. If y'all feel like there's anything you want to, even if you're just agreeing with somebody else or seconding it, it does help me to know. But yeah, y'all are welcome to jump in on voice or in the meetings discussion room if you would like to type instead.
I also want to say that, at least personally, at first I had a bit of issue with like splitting the community between the different servers, especially when we first started the like experimental server, because what ended up happening is that I wanted to just wait for the experimental server specifically for armor stands, and then it ended up where I just didn't play on it all season for season 8 on the main server that everyone else was on vanilla, and the experimental server kind of petered out. And for me, especially like with the vanilla server now playing again, because there's so many people who are playing, it's really enjoyable, because even though I haven't been able to play this much this month because I've been like final season, it's still active, and I know like whenever I come on there will be people on. And I was definitely like a bit worried with like splitting up the servers, and since I haven't been playing on the experimental and Everstorm and such and the others, I don't know how many people are playing on them and such. But I've found that, and it's definitely less an issue because there's a lot more people here than when that first started. But for me, I think I really enjoy like the fact that there's almost always people on, especially with the vanilla, if I want to just jump on and play, because on my friend group server there's so few of us that if even just like a few of us aren't playing, it'll often end up being by a few months in there's only ever one person on a time, but with this there's always an active community, especially with the vanilla one.
That's really helpful feedback. Like I said, I'm trying to avoid addressing particular points, but yeah, that is helpful to hear. Thank you, Aviva. M writes, I joined for Joe and stuck around for the community. I've made real friends here and really appreciate Joe fostering an environment where that can happen. I am glad that I could do that, M. Toxic says, limited oversight met with occasional op-aid allows for a nice balance that's hard to find. We're not anarchy, but we also aren't handheld. Yeah, that's the thing, is it's hard. Well, no, once again, I'm not going to acknowledge point, or I'm not going to address additional individual points. Sorry about that. Yes, but thank you, Toxic, for the feedback. M also says, thanks for introducing you to Sundrop. Good job, me. Yay. Okay, so anybody else? Seriously, this is what time is for. Would love to hear more feedback, because all the feedback we're getting now is going to help me better address the other points on the agenda. I know we have 5 more points on the agenda, but, I want to make sure that we address those as constructively as possible. Start from a place of good information and understanding.
Jill Jackson. I've been online since the mid-90s. I've been members of many communities, and I've never felt instantly welcomed the way I did here. I felt like the rules were pretty clear as far as what was not to be tolerated. Mostly the kind of negativity that is around lots of other servers, especially going back years. Things are definitely better now than they were, but that's why I stick around, honestly. Like, I know I'm not totally as active as a lot of other people are. My hyper focus goes in and out, but I really gotta hand it to everybody here for making this such a welcoming place. And the fact that you have these open forums where people are allowed to speak their truth, I guess, or make their points and are heard. That's very valuable.
Glad to hear it, Jill. I see we got a few other people typing. Pink Distortion just wrote, "I am just quiet, but love it here. This community is amazing." Glad to hear it, Pink Distortion. And
I wanted to just second the open forum part. I really do appreciate that as well. The transparency is really nice here.
I'm glad that y'all are enjoying that. That's, once again, I'm not going to address individual things, but thank you. So we'll go ahead and let's see. Melora just wrote, "I enjoy the Hermitcraft life experience. Feel this is a great community where I can trust folks on the server to be courteous players, and I really enjoy the dash of chaos and whimsy brought by petitions." Fantastic. Glad to hear it, Melora. Okay, so there's Case Walker.
Sorry.
Jump on in.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, please let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm here because I really appreciate the things you create, and I love Minecraft, and I love playing Minecraft. Having the community and playing with others has been really wonderful, more so than I imagined. I think there have been some times that there were solid complaints on the Minecraft server, but I feel like promoting Gray's Wander to address a lot of that has taken care of basically everything that I thought people were feeling contentious about.
I'm sorry, could you explain what you mean by promoting Grace Wonder?
Well, I know they managed at least the sleep percentage.
Oh, sorry, you might mean Yurgi.
Yurgi.
Yeah, so I temporarily
I'm sorry about that.
made Yurgi. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I understood what was going on. Cool, because I was like, oh man, I don't have any tax information for Grace Wonder, so if I start getting invoices, I'm not going to be able to send 1099s.
Just a slip on my part. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about server operators later in the agenda. But yeah, thank you for the feedback there. Looks like Gaia is typing. Does anybody else have any final points? Because if not, we're going to move on after we read what Gaia writes. Okay, Gaia writes, "I joined originally because of Joe, but also because I saw how the community on Jodi formed naturally without much guidance. The lack of hand-holding is certainly refreshing compared to other servers." I am glad to hear that, Gaia. So thank you very much, everyone, for your feedback. I feel like thank you, and I also need to especially thank Aviva for suggesting that we have this session to talk about this stuff. Like I said, I'm going to avoid addressing individual points right now, but some of them I'll come back to as we go through the agenda. So we're going to move on to item 2 in the agenda. Is Necropolis here? Would you like to present that, Necropolis? If not, it doesn't look like it. Tommy, would you like to go ahead and read agenda item 2?
Necropolis and Surfrock both suggest hiring and setting clear responsibilities for server operators and administrators.
Okay, I think that that's super important. We did an experiment having Yurgi come in as a temporary server operator at the server launch because I was dealing with a lot of stuff both at home with family and with the Hermitcraft season launch at the time. And so I wasn't able to give it the attention that y'all deserved. That, I think, was a good experiment, a successful experiment. I had an exit interview with Yurgi after that, or not an exit interview, because Yurgi didn't quit, but that was just like the end of that term. So we had kind of a post-mortem about it. And so the hiring and setting clear responsibilities. My plan is to hire the first lead server operator in the next 3 weeks to launch the survival multiplayer comfort server, which is going to be kind of the gentler, safer equivalent of the vanilla server. You can read about the rough plans for that in, let's see, which room is that? servers and realms. TBD vanillish next. Yeah. So the rough concepts I'm considering are keep inventory on, single player sleep. We would have a bunch of data packs that people find are helpful. Like, for example, the armor stands, things like that. But this server is going to be less extreme than the vanilla, it's going to be less vanilla than the vanilla server, but it'll be less extremely experimental than the experimental server. The experimental server is where we'll have things like prox chat mod and fancier stuff like that. So, yeah. Let's see. So the structure I'm looking at is ultimately I want to hire 2 or 3 server operators, and each one will be lead on a different server where they'll have the ability to execute their creative vision, run their own petitions, run their own server events, but they'll also be cross-trained to serve in a support role on each other's servers. So if whoever's running the survival multiplayer comfort server or the vanillish server goes on vacation, somebody who might be the lead operator on the experimental server could still jump over there in an emergency and do whatever maintenance or fixes might be required in the moment. So they're not necessarily going to be over there making game rule changes that change the flavor of the server, but they will be there to do bug fix type things or deal with glitches. So that way we are going to have coverage. I have hated being the single point of failure on server stuff at my old day job. It's one of the things that stresses me most out about my freelance work is the people I'm freelancing for right now. A lot of times I'm the only person who can fix something if it goes wrong. And of course it goes wrong like when I'm doing my craft stream with Cleo. So I don't want other people to deal with stress like that. So these people are going to be also serving as support operators for the flagship vanilla server. I'm going to maintain creative lead status on that. And we're going to swap out, take turns creating game rules for things like the Everstorm or other event servers. So that's the structure there. In terms of bringing in outside server administrators who actually have like administrative privileges on the servers, that is something that's like a next level of expansion thing. That might be 6 to 12 months out, whereas hiring the operators is like I'm going to hire the first one within the next 3 weeks, see how it goes, and probably hire the next one a month and a half, 2 months after that, just to kind of give you a sense of the time frame there. So that's what we're looking at there. Does anybody else have anything on item 2 before we move on? Because the other stuff in here might be a lot more community back and forth, and I don't want to waste too much time on item 2 when we've got 4 more things after that. It sounds like nobody has anything to jump in with on that, so we're going to move right on to item 3. M suggests creating better feedback mechanisms such as polls for specific items under consideration. That is something that we're going to be figuring out kind of as a server operator team. Whoever ends up taking the job running the vanillish server is going to be in charge of kind of testing some mechanisms like that. But yeah, emoji polls in Discord seem like they're viable for specific items. Doing calls like this or petitions are also a good way, but I'd love to hear feedback from y'all if there's specific stuff like that you want to see. Sounds like nobody has any feedback here, so emoji polls, occasional meetings, and petitions monthly sounds like it's good enough based on the lack of feedback? Question mark?
Yeah, those sound like good meetings. I didn't have feedback because it sounded good.
Thank you, Mahis. Melora says good to me. Okay. So let's move on to item 4, which is kind of similar. Mr. Lance and M suggests clearer communication about differentiation between the servers and pre-launch opportunities for community feedback. We have tried to address that by creating, for example, already the TBD Vanillish Next room, where people can share the sorts of stuff that they would like to see in that. We've created the 2022 experimental next room so that people can brainstorm things like that in advance of the petitions, especially because like some of the mods, people were like, hey, what about this mod? What about that mod? It turns out some of them aren't even available in 118. So that's the sort of stuff like it's good for us to be able to talk about before we get to petitions and be like, oh, if we're arguing about the merits of a mod for 10 minutes and then we realize, oh, it only supports 114, well, that's less urgent or not an optimal use of our time. So yeah, I've already implemented those changes, creating those rooms. So do people feel like that's sufficient, or is there anything further they'd like to see on that?
I'm glad that we have the rooms. I feel like they're underutilized. I wish people would have more discussions going on.
Yeah, from my point of view, once I actually hire an operator to be in charge of the Vanillish server and an operator to be in charge of the experimental server, that we're going to have somebody whose job it is to check in every week and like actively nudge the conversation. So I feel like that's a problem that's going to be solved with the hiring. But yeah, if y'all want to provide more feedback there now, you're definitely welcome to start.
So I think, at least from my point of view on the experimental server, we're on a semi-hiatus because a lot of us wanted to just get a little bit of something going on the vanilla server, but we're also like all planning to come back and do more stuff shortly here. And then the other thing is we wanted to see how things went with the first adding of new stuff before we like went crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and one thing that I want to throw out to the experimental server people is if we're going to possibly be hiring a new experimental server operator at around the same time that 119 comes out, it might be good for y'all to discuss among yourselves. I had originally said, like, maybe let's have the experimental server restart a few months before Hermitcraft restarts, but like, do y'all want to play through the whole season, or maybe do some of y'all want to kind of keep the server more bleeding edge and have it restart when there's a major world gen change or something like that?
My personal opinion at the moment is I want to play through the season because I have plans for stuff that I'm trying to set up for later in the year. I have like some build competition plan ideas that Melora and I kind of like loosely discussed for Christmas and Halloween. Mm-hmm. So like we're getting stuff prepared for things later down the road, and so that's kind of I would definitely like to play through the season for that.
Yeah, you know what? As I'm saying this out loud, I'm realizing this is a terrible idea for a few reasons. As Schoenard points out, we might need to wait for the mods we had to catch up to 119 is another big thing. I'm also realizing maybe what we do is if Mojang looks like they're going to launch, if they've started putting out like release candidates by the time we're about to launch the Vanillish server anyway, maybe we just launch the Vanillish server as the 119 server, and then we keep letting experimental run its course like we originally had planned. That would probably make way more sense than changing that up in the middle of it.
Yeah, we could run into the issue if we move the flagship vanilla server to 119. If we could keep as many of the servers on the same as possible, it helps those of us who use mods. Like I was saying, like we've been saying, those mods really help me play the game easier, and so to not have to switch between different things helps a lot. So that's if there was a way. So do you have to totally restart the thing to be able to, or is there a way to do part of it in 119?
Well, okay. So the plan was always to upgrade the main vanilla server to 119 when it comes out. But my point was that it's kind of silly to launch a server on 118.2 2 weeks before 119 drops. So maybe I should look at if the vanillish server launch date is too close to the launch date of 119. We just have that happen simultaneously.
I just mean part of expanding the experimental server. Can you expand part of the experimental server to 119?
I don't think I understand. So with the experimental server, in some ways, the experimental server is going to be the slowest one to update, because it's got mods. We actually have somewhere that I wrote up like a rough like timeline for differentiating the servers and how quickly they update, but I don't know where exactly.
Yeah, there'll probably be a delay for upgrading the experimental server as we wait for the mods to catch up.
Once the mods are caught up, yeah.
Yeah, so it might be a month or two.
Yeah.
But it usually shouldn't be that long. I don't, especially for the mods we currently have, those should be within a month. The ones we're considering, the two that we're considering, should be easily updated to 119.
Awesome. So I think we're all kind of saying the same thing, just in different ways. But yeah, I understand what you guys are saying. Yeah. So, yeah. So keep it going throughout the season, ending when it normally would.
Okay. Cool. So, let's see.
If it's all right if I jump in real quick, Joe?
Yeah, please do.
One of the things that I put, or like my comment on this of the clear communication and the differentiation between servers, is I think it would be helpful, and it somewhat is with the hiring of, your plan to hire people to admin the servers, or op the servers at least. But I know if you're a new member joining, having like currently 4 different servers that you can kind of get in on, maybe a pinned message on those server channels of the goal or the intent of that server, something that just kind of helps, like, here's why this server exists, to explain that. So because I know one of the things that frequently comes up for the vanilla server is people asking for data packs or for different mods or something like that, and it's very easy to explain, hey, no, this is a pure vanilla server, there's no data packs, there's no mods, there's nothing like that. But if there's a pinned note, right, of the intent, that might be helpful.
Okay, that tracks. And that might actually also lead us into our next item. Zedric Kane suggests clearer warnings on Joe's weird art ideas. So if one of the servers, like the Everstorm server, is more clearly weird art ideas, having that made explicit somehow in the pins. So we have a scope definition of the server as well as kind of a clear warning.
So one suggestion I would have along with that would be, and I know that we don't want to create frivolous channels, but I find that pinned messages are somewhat messy in Discord, and not everyone knows how to use them. So a single channel that is just server information, that you have a message that you edit that has, here's what every server is about, a little blurb about them, their server info to log into it, and then you just keep it at that single message the whole time. Does that make sense?
It does. My instinct, rather than my instinct was I should just have this be a page on the website rather than in the Discord. But then I don't want to have the server connection info in there.
Yeah, there's an issue with making entirely different channels so that there's already an issue with channel bloat here. I think having it in the channel description or in pinned in the channels, and when people ask, they can just be told.
Yeah, I like having a URL people can send people to. So that's why I like having just a description on the website of the 4 servers. And then also if it comes up, like if y'all are playing on a Twitch stream and somebody's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And you can just be like, "Oh, here's a link to a description of the server I'm playing on." You know. And having that hosted on my website rather than in Patreon makes it way easier to edit. It doesn't send people directly to a Patreon thing where it's like, send me money. I feel like that might be the solution, and we just say in the description of each, the connection info for this is pinned in the channel for this room.
Yeah, that works too.
So, okay. So that needs to go into my queue to make that page, but that's valuable to define that and figure out. There might be more stuff that would go on that page than we're even thinking about now, like, you know, hey, here are a few streamers who stream from that server occasionally or something like that. Now I'd have to curate and update that list, but having that that could be a really valuable resource for people. So I'm gonna have to keep coming back to that. Okay. Also, I'm getting messages from the Hermits that they want to meet up a half hour before the UHC, and the petitions were scheduled to start in 23 minutes and end 10 minutes before the UHC, but since I'm running the UHC, I need to be there 30 minutes before. So, let's maybe instead of taking a break between this and petitions, we move the experimental petitions up. I don't know. But let's see. And then item number 6 here. Okay, actually, Mr. Lance writes, having a page on your site of the benefits of your Patreon in more depth than just what is on Patreon might be helpful. People that are curious about joining. Yeah. One thing that I'm kind of super... I feel like I shouldn't talk up the Patreon too much until we kind of get stuff in order here. Like, y'all have made it clear that I don't have the time and attention to run this place properly right now, so I don't want to do anything. I don't want to put a bunch of time into something to promote this place. Like, I might still mention it occasionally because it's going to come up in, like, the Patreon sponsors making the video mid-roll ad-free, or there's a Patreon Discord chat, but, like, I don't want to spend time on marketing until I know that we're marketing something good, if that makes any sense. And people have made it clear that I haven't been able to put in the time and energy to make sure that this place is good enough to do that. So I'm gonna defer on creating a Patreon benefits page on my site right now.
I mean, that also is going to kind of double in with the other page you're going to make anyway. Like, that's going to probably link to it.
Yeah. I feel like having a page that explains the servers will incidentally drive people to the Patreon, but there's a big difference between me saying I'm going to do a Patreon subscription drive right now. And I'm going to make things that actively push people to sign up. Because, like, we're getting, like, I know there was a comment that this place had become stagnant in the sustainable growth room, that this place isn't growing, but actually it's growing a lot. I'm sending out 15 to 20 invites a month or something. Like,
yeah, I have noticed
people are
a lot
signing
of new
up.
people. So
yeah, people are signing up even without me pushing it hard, and so I want to make sure that when they get here, it's good rather than trying to double that. You know.
If I could jump in before we move on to the next point, I just kind of wanted to go off of what Mr. Lance was talking about. The I guess when I joined as a new member, I was sort of expecting. I had expectations, which is my fault, and assumptions. But I was expecting or assumed it would be a Hermitcraft adjacent experience. So when I see people mentioning things like armor stands or voice mod, and I know that those are part of the experimental server.
You cut out there.
Did I get my finger slipped off push to talk, I'm guessing?
Yes. You said part of the experimental server and then cut out.
Apologies.
Okay. Yeah, so please continue.
As a new member, I sort of expected those things to be part of the Hermitcraft Seed vanilla server. So that, like I said, just having that clear scope and definition of what each server really is, I think would be helpful.
Well, that makes sense, because I don't want to mislead people. Kindleus says, as a heads up, we have over 64 active members on the vanilla server compared to last season's 74 members. I don't know how you calculated that, because I don't have numbers on that. But
I think he's using mailboxes.
Okay, so not everybody who logs into the server necessarily is going to request a post office box, and like last season's server ran for like it ran for about a year almost, right? Whereas we've got 2-3 months now. So I would be shocked if we didn't hit 74 in the next month. Although not everybody's going to want a post office box, I would imagine. But okay, well, that's an interesting way to keep track of that. But I have sent out a lot of Discord invites at the $10 a month level in the last few months, so I think we're going to see more than 74. But I don't really have any numerical goals for this stuff either, so that's fine with me either way. Okay, so let's see. The last item here, does anybody else have anything else on items 4 and 5, which are kind of very similar, server communication, differentiation? Jill Jackson says, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the point there is that we expect growth beyond last season. Yeah, but like I don't expect this season, okay, so the thing is that a ton of people play over the summer that don't get to play during the school year or whatever. Like I don't expect us to be in April where our server was after 12 months that included Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, spring breaks, fall breaks, and summer breaks, right? We're going to have one of the big things I'm trying to prepare for by hiring operators now, and actually nobody had any questions about this, but we are going to also, I've got 2 people that I've reached out to about expanding the moderation staff as well. We're going to be expanding the moderation staff back up to 5 active moderators. That's what we started with. Sammy resigned. She had some other stuff going on, and Brosephine has been on kind of indefinite hiatus, and I'm not rushing her on coming back. So I've already reached out to 2 specific people that I think would be excellent candidates for both knowing the community, moderating, and running small events. So yeah, the plan is to have them in place before the summer rush, because Fally says, I would love the community to have an EU time zone friendly moderator and or op. The problem I ran into when I recruited last time was that I didn't get any applicants in those time zones who had US tax IDs. I really, if anybody meets that would be something to look into, definitely. But yeah, because I'm running this as an actual business, I need the person to have a US tax ID. In theory, anybody who went to graduate school in America, even if they live in Europe now, would have a tax ID that they got when they were a grad student. But that has been a recruitment challenge that I'm not able to really meet at the moment. So that's where that is. But yeah, I do have in the very least, coverage from East to West Coast in the United States. Or I will, if these two people that I'm talking to sign on. But, yeah. But I'm also recruiting people who have different schedules from each other and whatnot. Okay, so item 6. Sammy suggests better communication around encouraging community members to create their own server. This is my biggest failure as a communicator. And I know I said we want to start petitions early maybe, but like I could go on for 15 minutes about this. I have really screwed up trying to be encouraging to people, and I'm trying to be better at it. That's why we created the Spam Servers You Operate room. That's why I'm going to be starting to invite specialists in to run workshops in the community leadership room. That's one of the reasons that I'm trying to revisit using my blog to write posts about creating and running things. Like, all of the people who helped me get where I was always encouraged members of their community to go off and make their own things. Not because they were trying to drive them away, but because it would make them better leaders. And apparently that's the worst. That's the part of leadership I'm worst at, is encouraging people to do that in a productive way. And so I am really going to be looking aggressively at other ways to fix that beyond those workshops in the community leadership room and the Spam Servers You Operate thing. M says the main issue is you'd bring it up when there was already tension. Yeah, that's the thing, is I actually had to talk to an economist about this because I couldn't figure out, there's a vocabulary problem I was running into. I kept trying to explain to people that, so there's a concept in economics called satisficing. And I didn't know this word, and I didn't understand the concept. It was just in my gut, this is what I felt. And I was trying to explain what I felt, but lacking the words to do it, it came off stupid. But basically, the idea is that as long as something is running, as long as a business is running well enough, the business owner has the discretion to do things that are economically suboptimal, but make themselves and their staff happier. Right? So let's say I run a company that makes shirts. As long as we don't go bankrupt, I could buy thread from people that use safer treatment processes where their employees get sick from chemical fumes less often. I can go inspect the plants and make sure that the workers are treated properly and things like that. That's an example of satisficing, where technically I could make more money if I used worse suppliers, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do, and it's not why I created the business, you know? So the thing is, when I was making decisions based on satisficing, I was trying to explain to people, these aren't optimal solutions economically. No, I was trying to explain, what you're describing is a good suggestion in that it might be economically optimal. It might make whoever does it more money, but I'm too stressed out to do it. So I need to let other people pursue business opportunities like that so that I can focus my energy on the creative stuff that's most important to me. And so I would try to encourage people to go create those things that they want to see in the world, because I don't have time to create them. But it ended up coming across as more combative, and it's just, like I said, this is my greatest failure as a community leader, is I have not found a good way to structure this the way it should be structured, the sort of encouragement. And I'm, like I said, I'm talking to specialists about this to try to find better ways to do that, because just trying harder is what I have been doing for 3 or 4 years, and just trying harder wasn't good enough. That is a dead end. We have tried the trying harder. We need to try specific things that address this problem, and I need to talk to people who are talented in different ways than I am in order to figure out how to do that. So that's kind of where we are on that. I am very open to specific suggestions about how to do that better. The community leadership room would be a great place to post those. But yeah, I really can't say much on this other than I'm trying all the things I have thought of so far. And if you think of other things, please tell me, because this is a point where I have a ton of blind spots and weaknesses, and I don't really know what else to do. So I'm going to see what happens with the changes I've made, and I'm going to keep talking to people. M points out, you're assuming that most of us want to create our own things. Lots of us don't have the time or energy. That's a point of commonality, though, M. That's something that you and I have in common, is that the things that people might want me to do here that I'm not doing, it's because I don't have the time and energy. Like, we need to find ways to, like, say, who do we get to create that? If that's something that you think should exist and that I think should exist, how do we find somebody who both agrees with us and wants to create it? And how do we help them? How do we push them in the right direction? Because just both of us saying, I'm too tired for this, isn't going to get us anywhere. Even if it's true. You know, it's not enough to acknowledge truths sometimes. Anybody else have any feedback on this? Okay, it seems like there is not further feedback on this. I think let's go ahead and just jump straight into... Oh, Kindle says, I think you've already made tremendous progress on these issues. I am glad to hear it. Okay. So... I think we should just jump straight into Everstorm petitions. Honestly, I don't even know if I can launch the right version of the game on this computer. So, yeah, experimental petitions. Yeah, okay. So the problem is I'm also logged in for this UHC thing on this computer, but I guess I can log out. But yeah, we need to either super speed this or push it off, because the other hermits really want to get on a call, which I didn't anticipate. They really want to get on a call before this UHC, and so since I'm running this UHC, I can't not show up for that call. So yeah, we're just going to try and speed through the experimental petitions, and then we're going to end the vanilla petitions at 1:30. So, but it seems like the experimental petitions only had 2 major requests, and so let's just jump over there real quick.
And we're all gathered up on the platform and everything, so.
Okay. Let me go to pinned messages, connect server2.joehills.net.
You can TP to Hard Luck or...
Okay, so who's up first for petitions?
Can we do a TP all to the petitions area?
Sure. Sorry, there's a fire there. I didn't know that. Okay. So, who's up first?
I think Mahi's is there.
Yep. I just wanted to... I had 2 things. One was the Decorative Blocks Mod. I wanted to add that because it added some very interesting options for wooden walls, which will look more like a modern fence than like the old country style fence that is available vanilla. And I think that would make my planned event area look way better than what is available currently. And it seemed like a pretty straightforward, easy to add mod.
Okay, it adds bonfire, thatch, wooden palisades, wooden beam blocks, braziers, chandeliers, rocky dirt, stone pillar, big chain climbable, bar panel trapdoor, lattice trapdoor, wooden seats, right sit to click, wooden supports, and soulfire variants of bonfire, brazier, and chandelier. Does anyone have any concerns or questions about this? You've had 2 weeks or so to review it.
I support the request.
Okay, sorry, could you say your name out loud just for the record?
Sure, this is Mars, and I support Mahi's Zero's request. It's a good option.
Okay. Does anyone have any counter proposals of mods that accomplish similar goals that would be better in any way? Okay. I see Hard Luck and Mars are supporting it. This seems like the sort of thing that everybody else had a chance to weigh in the chat and chose not to over the last few weeks. So I'm going to implement this whenever I have time, sometime in the next month. So I'm assuming that I don't just add this to the server, that y'all might have to download a client mod too?
No, it should be just on the server, I believe.
Oh, it's only server mod. Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually one of the mods that Jem is using over on her other SMP.
Wait, does it work on Fabric?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Files. Yeah, Decorative Blocks Fabric. Great. Yeah.
I made sure to link the specific one.
Okay, perfect. Next item.
So the other thing was, so a couple episodes ago, Cub said that everyone needs to have an underwater roller coaster and Joe Hills to die by a skeleton to finish their base. So I need you to die by a skeleton. There's a skeleton up behind you.
Let me make sure my inventory doesn't have anything too wild in it. Okay. Game mode. Survival. Oops. Where's the skeleton?
Right up behind the... Over here.
Oh no! It's gonna shoot at me.
Yeah, you have to stand on the pressure plate.
I don't wanna, but I can, I guess. Ah! I am slain. Okay. Were there any other items?
I've got a quick one.
State your name for the record.
Shawnard. Just want to bring back up the World Border one because I didn't do the math in time for when you had time for it last time. I've done the math this time, and I relinked the relevant quote in the experimental next channel.
Okay. So I can adjust the world border when I make the mod change. Approved.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else got anything?
I just want a quick plug for the experimental server. We have Joe Hills dying by skeleton. We have prox chat. We have armor stands. Come join us.
I think the other... Who suggested the Blaze achievements thing?
Oh, I did, but we're speed running, so there's no rush on that one.
I say go ahead and suggest it.
You got 30 seconds, go.
Yeah, we're here.
It's an advancement pack that adds a whole bunch of really, really end-game neat advancements and a way to track them. I believe it's 1.18.2 compatible, and I believe it's been upgraded quickly, so it's kind of one that could be long-term.
Does anyone have any complaints or concerns?
I love achievements.
Yeah, okay. It's really cool, so I'm excited for that as well.
Well, this was also previously proposed weeks ago. Nobody expressed any clear reservations against it there, and y'all seem to be in favor now, so that's approved. I'll also put that in my queue for the next server update. Alrighty, well, thank you so much, Experimental Server, for having me. I'm going to head on over to the Vanilla Server and then get over to that Hermitcraft UHC. So I will catch y'all later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm still on the voice chat, though, so don't say anything too mean.
Well, we've all stayed with it, so yeah.
Okay, so we are here. We're going to do this pretty tightly time-boxed because we have the Hermitcraft UHC. I got to jump in a call with the Hermits in 30 minutes. Who is up first?
There's a button beside you that will tell you who's up first. We have named pieces of paper underneath you.
Oh, that's... well, I got to change windows and stuff.
Joe, could you TP all?
My inventory's full. I don't know. I might have just destroyed a piece of paper.
Well, so far there's only 2 people, so I think it's Centipede and myself. So I can go first if you want.
Yeah, that would be way better. Because, yeah, sorry, I'm juggling a call with the... or text chat with the Hermits about this call that they want.
Okay, I have 3 things to mention. I'll be very quick. The first one was, can we have the sleep percentage set to 30% like what was promised?
Yes, that was previously approved. The only reservation there was, was anybody here going to raise a objection to doing that?
The night crew has actually requested it be lowered to 25% because of the number of people who AFK overnight when the server is quiet. And with 25%, that means 3 people can be AFK while 1 player is active and they can still sleep.
Okay. Does anyone here hate 25%? People seem happy with it. Okay, so 25 it is, / game role player sleeping percentage 25. Next problem.
Can we have an Elytra Villager like on last season? I have the command ready to go. If you want to run it during the week when you're planning on doing that, I can post it in the ops channel.
So my only concern about that Elytra Villager and the Heart of the Sea Villager that I saw y'all talking about is, would you rather that I just expanded the world border? And if so, by how much?
I have actually excluded the Heart of the Sea thing based on feedback I've received from various members on the server, and it's just for Elytra. And there's no way to expand the border enough to actually have the number of Elytra, or sorry, enough end cities in the world.
See, that's why I was going to set it up so you could trade a Elytra for a Heart of the Sea and vice versa. But now I got to figure out a new trade. But that's fine. I can get creative with that. Centipede 12 says there's still a problem with access to Hearts of the Sea. Yeah, so how do y'all want to address Hearts of the Sea?
People can petition for them directly.
And request other people on the server who do have them.
Okay, so everybody's happy with the world border where it is this month. Everybody's happy with the world border. Wow, so that's a surprise. Okay, I was figuring we were gonna just kind of keep expanding it out. Preserve more for 119. No, that's fair. I mean, I think that there's a very high probability 119 will launch between now and the next petitions. And so that might fix the Heart of the Sea and Elytra problem then, anyway, to some degree. So, okay. I can set up some sort of Elytra trading villager. I was gonna thematically probably put it on top of a remote mountain somewhere or something like that, but y'all can move it if you like. That's up to you. So yeah, I have to find a place for it, but that'll be done sometime in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully much sooner than that, but I got to get through the next few days.
And Joe, the third thing was, for the Elytra Trader, we agreed on the same purchase price as last season, which was a diamond block and phantom membranes. And if that's the case, I would request that you do not give out any phantom spawn eggs, so that we still have to use the same level of work to get the newer Elytras.
Well, like I said, I thought it was going to be really amusing to have them traded for Hearts of the Sea, so I'll figure out a better recipe than diamond blocks and phantom membranes, because, you know, maybe turtle eggs. I don't know. I'll noodle on that one for a little bit. Maybe turtle helmets. Turtle helmet for an Elytra feels like a fair trade, but yeah. So, Emerald Storm says I'm about to be rich. Well, you shouldn't have said that, Em. Now I'm gonna have to do something else. Yeah, it's not a monkey's paw gift if I'm just giving you what you want, Em. You blew it, Em.
I would ask that you take some consideration to the difference between challenging and frustrating when you think of a recipe.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is I'm trying to think of something that would be equally rare this season to a diamond block and phantom membranes, because a bunch of stuff about the game has changed since then. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'll be thinking about that. But it sounds like people want some sort of trader that does Elytras. So yeah, I'll brainstorm that when I have time to make sure that it's actually fun and not miserable. This is the whole time constrained decision making thing. Is if I'm making snap decisions, they're more likely to be not very fun. So I'll agree to create a villager that trades for Elytras sometime in the next 14 days, and I will use that time to make sure that it's not terrible.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Anything else?
All right. I guess I was the only other person who put my name in for. Okay. I am actually here on behalf of Darth Skellius, who lost a netherite set and pair of wings in the night of many crashes. The server just ate them, and he would like to ask for a replacement.
So that would be... Well, for one thing, you didn't state your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Centipede 12. Hello.
Okay, so Centipede 12, speaking on behalf of Darth Skellius. So you said it was wings, and what was the netherite gear?
Helmet, legs, and boots.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, that sort of server operator stuff. Like, I know on some servers, if something breaks like that, they'll get it to you that day. That's not going to be viable for me. But yeah, if you show up here and that's... Nobody thinks that this person's lying, right? I should probably at least verify that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were there, well, not immediately present, but
Okay, I'm just gonna give 4 netherite ingots. That'll be enough to upgrade whatever armor they've been using in the meantime.
Okay.
So you should have an extra Elytra and 4 netherite ingots there. People are confirming that you're not lying, so awesome. Alrighty, and Meep says you have something? Please state your name and your petition.
Hello, my name is Meep, and I wanted to ask for a mushroom spawn egg and some mycelium so we can, for decoration, since there is no mushroom island within our current world border, and I require a mushroom for a part of my base.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but can anyone here answer, can you still create a mushroom by just having a cow struck by lightning?
You cannot. It works the other way around.
Oh, well, that's disappointing. Okay.
It doesn't actually. You get a cow from shearing a mushroom, and you can strike mushrooms with lightning to switch their colors.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So, it sounds like this is a server-wide problem. Nobody has access to mycelium. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware.
Alrighty. So I've given everybody here 4 mycelium. And 1 mushroom spawn egg. So y'all, I know that some people aren't here and not all of y'all need that. Feel free to sell, buy, barter, trade, whatever you want to do with those. Hopefully that'll address that in a time-shifted way for those who couldn't make it. Okay. Anything else?
I just want to take a moment to thank Mardigan for building this fantastic location for the petitions, and I'm sorry it had to be so time compressed.
Yeah, I mean, I still technically don't have to be at that Hermitcraft meeting for 20 minutes. If I can get a little bit of extra time to get a drink first, that's great. But, like, if y'all have anything else, please feel free to come forward, state your name, and make your case now. Melora, what you got? Melora, if I don't think you're pushing to talk. Melora, feel free to type what you need. You're standing there like you have something to say. Cat spawn egg. Okay. Why? Because I feel like you can just get cats on the server. Is there a reason people can't get or breed cats? Okay, I haven't heard any reason that people can't get cats. It's a long, slow process. Well, that's part of the game, though, is that things are slow. There's a difference between, like, this is impossible because of the world border, and this is inconvenient. Mahizero says cat farms are annoying. You don't need a whole farm. You just need to be able to get 2 of them, right? I don't...
Well, so cat spawning is based on every minute it ticks any player in the game. And if that player happens to be loading a village, then within 32 blocks on that plane, it spawns a cat. So if you have 10 players, now you have a 10% chance that you might be the one that's selected.
Okay, Centipede says there's cats at the Guardian Farm if anyone wants to tame them. So it sounds like this is something that the community can resolve themselves. But see, this is still good that you brought this up, Melora, so now we know that they exist. Thank you, Centipede, for bringing that answer to our attention. Awesome. Okay, so for the people who are saying that we still haven't addressed the Heart of the Sea problem, is there a problem with me just having a Heart of the Sea villager? Because that was... My original plan was to have the Elytra Villager and the Heart of the Sea Villager. If I'm already coming back in to make an Elytra Villager, there's no reason I can't create a Heart of the Sea one, too. So that seems like an elegant enough solution to me. So you're not going to get it today, but it will be in the next 2 weeks. And I will try to come up with a creative trade that is interesting. So, okay. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Jill Jackson, what you got?
Yes, Beneficent Demiurge. During that outage that we had where the server crashed over and over again, I had a shulker box that had some gold in it. It had some emeralds in it. I loved it. It was my favorite, and it disappeared. I would like, instead of just replacing whatever's in the box, I think like like a stack of gold bricks would be good, or whatever you would think.
Does anybody have any concerns or questions about this? Any problems with it?
Oh yeah, that sounds fancy. Thank you, Alice.
Alrighty. There you go. Gave 64 gilded blackstone to Jill Jackson. Alrighty. Anything else, anyone? Okay, that is going to go ahead and conclude the petitions. Thank you all for accepting this accelerated session. This Hermitcraft 10th anniversary thing just keeps sprawling, but I hope you all check out the stream. It should be a lot of fun. Everybody's super hyped about it, so hope to see you all there. Thank you for everybody who stuck around for all the meetings. We've just had a lot of stuff going on, but yeah. I will do my best to not die too soon. I can't fly around to look at the build for some reason. I just fell. Oh, this actually does look really cool. Ooh, fancy. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. Yep, and so now that y'all have seen how these meetings go, especially kind of the quarterly one, I hope that you will take advantage of Tommy's agenda creating skills so that we can make sure that things that you want to see addressed in future meetings get addressed. Alrighty, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee, saying, thanks, Tommy! And also keep adventuring.
Thanks for all your hard work, Tommy. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna stick around for another 3 minutes, maybe. I'm not gonna count the seconds, of course. But did anybody have any questions, comments, concern, anything they wanted to say while I was still here?
Tommy, do you want to pitch your YouTube channel so we know where the VOD will be uploaded?
I don't know what the exact link is. I don't even remember my YouTube channel name. It's probably something along the lines of That Tommy Boy or Dat Tommy Boy. I will be linking it in the Discord once it's available. It'll also be going up in the newsletter as well.
Yeah, I definitely know that I'll be watching the VOD because I missed everything. And I could see all the chat in the Discord, and I'm just going, I have no context for this. I'm so lost. As I go back, and I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah,
what do I need to know, and how do I help Joe?
There's the
like, I don't know anything.
And I am really proud of that.
Yeah, the Twitch VOD will be available as soon as the stream ends and gets uploaded to Twitch, and then I'll upload that to YouTube. I'll be making chapters for each of the agenda items, so there'll be easier navigation there, and then there'll be minutes created that'll get uploaded to the newsletter as well. That should hopefully go up tomorrow, pending the call I have with Joe for that newsletter.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure if there was anything super important, you'd let me know.
Nothing sticks out to me at this moment, but there was a lot that went on, so you'll have to bear with me I'll have to rewatch my own VOD.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I'd say things went well.
Yeah. I just always get whiny when it's just like, why do I have 8 million things planned at the same exact time, you know?
Because that's life.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Joe had that same problem today.
I know. That's because we talked about it. It's just like, well, I told him last Thursday about the Ag Inc. show last night, and he's like, "You're killing me," because he couldn't watch it. I'm like, well, I ended up not watching it either, so I have to watch that VOD too because I really want to watch it, and I can't listen to it at work.
Oh.
Well, it's fine.
It's fine. All right, did anybody else have anything they want to ask or say?
Nope.
Thank you.
Cool. Well,
you're awesome.
I think everything was well met. I will get everything uploaded and ready as soon as I can. I might I might take a break first.
Do it. You earned it.
I'm lucky I get to take a break. Joe doesn't. So
you earned it.
Everyone better watch his stream because I will be watching. And I think Toxic may be moderating.
I am in fact very much moderating.
Are you excited, Toxic?
I'm excited.
I'm excited that I don't have to mod it.
What Thank you for that, Toxic. I still can't believe I had to remind him of that. He's like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, it's at 2:00. I believe that's when it starts. But I guess Joe's meeting in advance with the hermits to talk about stuff.
2 Central. So
2 Central, yes. 3 Eastern, etc., time zones.
I now see Vin's message.
Vin, how did you get there?
I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how to find my way back. I've never been over here before.
Through the nether, NJ.
Right over there.
I see the portal. I'm just like, okay, I guess I'll go on a spelunking tour.
It's a straight shot, pretty much. Like, there's one turn.
I have a...
Thank you, Planking Vin. Appreciate
just
you.
hang a right when you get to the end of the hall.
All right, I'm going to end my stream here so there's less for me to cut out for the YouTube upload.
Go, Tommy.
Don't forget to subscribe to
Appreciate
Tommy.
you.
Oh,
yes, subscribe.
Thank you. All right, bye to everybody who was watching on Twitch stream. I appreciate you all for coming. Thank you, NJ, for the raid. Thank you for everyone who followed and who subbed. I really appreciate that. I feel like it was a little bit much. I didn't expect that at all for the stream, but I really do appreciate everybody. Thank you for Vin for dancing on camera. Appreciate it. And I will see everybody on the Joe stream.
Hooray!